Welcome to Build Your Dream Business, brought to you by Solo. More than just a booking app, we're a community for independent pros in hair, beauty and wellness. I'm Katrina, here to bring you closer to real stories of success from the industry's finest and share practical advice to help your business flourish. In today's episode, Rose Lonsdale, Global Senior Education Manager at Nouveau HD Beauty Group, shares her inspiring journey from practitioner to educator in the beauty industry. Rose highlights the importance of continuous learning, staying on top of industry trends, and the power of brand association for building trust with consumers. Hi, Rose. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Katrina. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. So glad to have you here. Why don't you kick off by kind of telling us how you got to where you are now, how you've grown your career? Your journey into education is truly inspiring. How did you get into the beauty industry to start with?
Well, I mean, it goes back too many years and I really want to remember. When I left school, it was that kind of time where beauty had such a stigma around it. And, you know, you couldn't do beauty if you were intelligent. It wasn't for that kind of academic person, which, you know, I could have done anything really. But I wanted to do beauty. I really wanted it. And it was an industry I was really interested in. But I was literally scared to tell my mum and dad. So I finally found the courage. And it was like, after a load of things, I was like, I really want to do beauty. My mum was like, great, go for it. And I don't know why I was so worried about it, but I was. So she was like, yeah, do it. This will be great. So I signed up for college and I went and did iTech Beauty at the White Rose Beauty School and I loved it. I did my level 2, I did my level 3 and I started in a salon. And from the moment I started in the salon, it was just incredible. Like I never felt like I was going to work. I just loved speaking to my clients and they became like an extended family. Like I just loved that salon feel. I worked in a really successful nail bar and locally and we just had a great time. And I did that thing, you know, key moment in your life where I broke up with my long-term boyfriend. I was like 19 and thought, I've got to get out of here. I've got to do something in my life. And I went and interviewed to work on a cruise ship. And eventually I got through my interview and went and worked at sea. And I loved it.
It's supposed to be like the most intense thing, isn't it? Working on those ships.
So intense, but the experiences and the places and the people and the work and everything that I learned really made me. But I went and I did my first 9 months and I just partied hard. Did a couple of sets of nails here and there, just had a really good time. And I came back and I was miserable, totally miserable. Hated being back on land, hated being back in my childhood bedroom. But my brother was getting married. And so I kind of should have stayed and I just couldn't hack it. So I got the opportunity to go back and my mum was like, go, but make something of yourself. Don't just hit every Irish bar in Europe, go and do something. So I thought, yeah, I've really got to do something about this. So I went back and knuckled down and worked my way up to being the manager. And I ended up being spa director on Crystal Symphony, Crystal Serenity, which are two of the most luxury liners on the water. I had a team of like 25 people and I was only like 22, but ran this successful spa at sea and learned so much. And after about 3.5 years, I came home, realised, no, stuff's going on at home now. Like my brother started having kids and that kind of stuff. I was like, it's time to come home. And within 3 weeks, met my husband. So I came home, met my husband and started to settle into life back on land, as we used to say. And I really struggled to find my place in the industry after that. I worked in spas, but it wasn't the same. And I needed to kind of move to that next level. And after doing so much training with the team on board, I realised education was what I wanted to do. So I went and did my education and training qualification at college and I went back to night school and it was great. I really enjoyed it and knew this is what I wanted to do. I just loved the teacher. Like the person teaching us was really inspiring and looked at learning in such a different light. And I thought, yes, this is me. Since then, I've trained all manner of different things, laser hair removal, skincare brands, nails, obviously brows and lashes, where I am today. And yeah, that's me really. I started working for HD Brows 8 years ago now, I think it is 7 or 8 years ago. And at the time, I was working for a wonderful company, had the best job, travelled up and down the country teaching lots of different things to lots of different people, met loads of people, had a great time. And then 3 weeks before my wedding, I'm looking at this job description. I just come across it. I wasn't even looking for another job. And it said, be a training manager for the leading brow company, UK's leading brow company. And I thought,
Who could that be?
Who could that be? I thought, I've just got to go for it. And my husband-to-be was like, but you like your job? I was like, yeah, I know. He was like, why are you looking for a new job? I'm like, not really. And he was like, then why? We're getting married in 3 weeks. I was like, I need to apply for this job. It's like calling out for me. Like, I need it. And I got an interview, and Karen Betts interviewed me, and I was like starstruck. I got away from the interview, I rang my husband, Karen Betts interviewed me, and he went, who? I was like, Karen Betts. And he was like, all right, great. You know, Karen. She interviewed me, and I got this job, and I started the day after my honeymoon. Flew in from Las Vegas at like 5 o'clock in the morning, straight into Karen's business. And I've never looked back. And I started as HD Brows training manager, and then I ended up with Nouveau Lashes, and now I'm training, global senior education manager for the brand of Nouveau HD Beauty Group. So we look after Nouveau Lashes, HD Brows, KB Pro, and now all the other leading brands that we're bringing onto the newest Nouveau Beauty website. So all about education. And as a brand, we're so strong on education. It's great to be a part of it.
What an incredible journey. I think so many of our listeners do also aspire to become educators themselves one day.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody on transitioning from being a practitioner into education?
I think it's a really interesting one, to be honest, because you're right. So many of us in the industry think education's the next step. It's a natural step. You've done it for so long. Let's share this knowledge with other people. And I get that. But sometimes you underestimate that we could be really, really good at one of our key treatments. Maybe it is brows. But showing someone else how to do it and teaching someone else how to do it is actually a totally different thing.
It's a whole other skill set, isn't it?
Whole other skill set. Absolutely right, Katrina. And I think if you're starting to think about education, then you need to start looking at your treatments in a really different way, and break it down into smaller chunks and think about the way you actually execute each part of that task and how you would explain that to somebody else, and see if you can do that. Because I've worked with so many educators in the last 8 years at HD Brows, and some of those educators have come to us and they've kind of gone, well, you kind of just do it. And I'm like, this might not be quite the role for you. And some people are like, right, okay, you know, I'm going to get a kiwi fruit and I'm going to show you how to thread on a kiwi fruit through. And you've really got to think out of that comfort zone, outside the box, and put yourself back into a learner's shoes. Yeah, I think it's about breaking down those treatments, looking at them in a different light, and thinking not about you as the educator, but about the learner themselves.
I think that's a great thing to think about if you're thinking that it's something you would ultimately like to do, you know, just practicing in your head and thinking, how would I explain this treatment to someone else? Is that a skill that I have, or is that a skill that I could potentially develop? Because, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think so many people have that as a sort of marker of success. You know, I work my way up and I eventually become an educator, but perhaps that isn't obviously for everyone. Not everyone can be an educator. Just in the same way as we have a lot of, you know, freelance, independent professionals who work for themselves. I think you can often have that goal of, you know, I want to have my own salon, I want to have my own chain of salons, but is that right for you? You know, is that lifestyle right for you? Is that a skill set that you have and something that you'd like to pursue? So, yeah, it's nice to kind of practice.
The other thing that I would say as well, though, is that going back to education yourself, go and be a student, go and learn how to be an educator. Because again, I think it's something that you take for granted. I'm really good at this, so I'll be able to teach. It's not quite that straightforward. And there's loads of online education courses to become an educator. But actually going back to school, going back to a classroom, put yourself in the learner's shoes, for me, that's what sold it. Like I said, I loved my education trainer. She was incredible and she was inspirational. And I take and think a lot about her when I write my courses now. It breaks down education into something that you do naturally take for granted as a learner. You don't realise how much actually goes into planning that lesson and thinking about those tasks and getting the best from the students. And each part of that classroom task that we put together means something. It's for a reason. And that's what your education and training qualification will show you. And I think that's really important.
Great points to consider. Education is obviously a huge part of your life. How do you keep yourself continuously learning and growing?
I learn best from people, definitely. And I love to absorb knowledge from people. I'm a total geek. Complete not a geek. So when it comes to education, I like doing courses. And when I do a course, for me, it's not always about the subject matter. It's about the delivery style or the supporting materials. But I notice everything in every course that I do. So if I've been in a classroom, I'll notice how that teacher is and how that teacher behaves in that classroom, and I take from it what I like and how I want my educators to be like in the classroom, and take from inspirational people, but also, like I say, online technologies as well, and that's what I like to see. So yeah, I'll do a course in anything, any subject matter, if I'm interested in, and I look at the delivery style of it, and that's how I kind of try and keep our education fresh.
Nice. And again, something for, our listeners to consider. Is that something that you would like to do? Are you interested in education enough that sounds like something that you would find fun?
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by us here at Solo. If you're a self-employed beauty pro, Solo is the booking app that helps you not only manage your appointments, but also build your brand. With Solo, you can create your own personalized booking website where clients can easily view your availability, read your reviews, and even pay deposits up front, giving them a seamless booking experience and saving you valuable time. With everything from consultation forms to marketing tools all in one place, growing your dream business has never been easier. If you haven't checked us out yet, why not start your free trial today? You often emphasize the importance of continued education and kind of never just resting on your laurels, getting the qualification that you need to perform a treatment and just sticking at that. Why do you believe it is so important for beauty professionals to keep educating themselves?
Because it's always changing. It's just changing so fast. Like the fundamentals stay the same, but we've got more and more brands coming out, more and more techniques, and it's evolving. The industry is evolving. And if we don't stay ahead, we will fall behind. And I think that's really important. Even, my time on ships, by the time I came back after 3 years, things had moved on and I could see that. And I almost felt a little bit left behind and had to catch up, because whilst away at sea, I didn't have the resources that you do at home. So yeah, it moves so fast. We've got to keep ahead of it. There's so many ways of doing that now that there's no excuse really.
How do you kind of stay updated with the latest trends and techniques? Like, what was your advice for any independent professional thing? How to keep your finger on the pulse?
You've got to become part of communities. There's forums. Social media is great and it's got its place. I'm not a massive social media person myself, but I do like forums. We can learn from peers, and I learn from, like I say, I learn from people. I really rely on my team of educators because they are on the ground in the salon treating clients day to day. So I couldn't do my job without them. And I spend a lot of time quizzing them, asking them about what they're seeing in the salons and what they're doing. I do like that community feel. Join a community, join a brand, join a social forum, not just relying on your Instagrams and your TikToks, etc. I think you need the conversation with people.
Are there any kind of forums or online communities that you'd recommend?
There's just so many. I think as soon as you join a brand, you become part of a forum, or you should be, because leading brands normally have that kind of community feel. But things like, you might have come across Maddie Cook, Boss Your Salon. It's great for your business. The PMU Circle for permanent makeup. Depending on where your interest is, you'll find a forum to fit. The nail forums are abundant in the industry as well. So yeah, there's just a few that I'm all over.
Yeah, as you said, working with a brand does give you those advantages. You kind of get put into an already established community that has a literal support network.
Yeah.
How does being associated with, brands like Nouveau and HD and the umbrella of that, how is that advantageous to professionals?
Being a part of a brand is so important and so powerful when you're an independent or a big salon. You see it more in big salons, but independents forget about brands. The thing to remember about a brand is that consumers know them. So consumers recognize brands, and that's where the power comes from. If you advertise yourself doing a brow treatment, that's fine, but it's a brow treatment. If you advertise yourselves doing a HD brows treatment, that consumer knows that you've invested. They know that you've completed education, and they know that you're using the top products in the industry. That means you can price yourself right. You can price yourself higher. You can price yourself where you should be so you can earn more. Also brings people through your door. Our brands, for example, and lots of brands out there have got salon finders on their website, and those literally consumers can type in and find their nearest stylist. So even without marketing yourself, people are coming to you, and that is what a brand is going to bring to you. And then, as we were just saying about the community, the brand will have a community forum. They'll have a place where you can go and ask questions and feel like you're not on your own, get advice, continue your education, continue your learning. And it's not necessarily coming directly from the brand, although we do have a dedicated trainer that comes back to every question that comes on our forum. You get that professional brand advice. You also learn from your peers, and I love to see that. So yes, our elite trainer will answer that question for you, but you'll also get 12 other comments from other people with their opinion, and that is the beauty that a brand really brings. Not only that, but it's image. People walk into your beauty room and you might have a lovely room at the bottom of your garden. You fill that full of branded products, and now it's an experience for your clients. Whereas if you've just brought the standard products that you can buy in a wholesaler, your client won't even notice that. Put a brand in there and your client will sit up and listen, and they'll think, oh yeah, this is great, and they'll return.
Yeah, I do think it's huge for consumer confidence, because there is a huge difference between, like you say, doing an HD brows treatment and just something standard. Like you don't know as a consumer. You want that reassurance, I guess.
Of course.
I think people are just so much more well-versed in what brands beauty professionals are using. I think in recent years, we've just become a lot more aware of things like that. I think even just like the way we kind of think of our skincare and ingredients and things like that, consumers are far more interested in it than they used to be.
Hugely. I mean, you're seeing it from such a young age now as well. Like one of our trainers, her little girl is, I think she's about 8, and she's asking for skincare products because she's seen this on social media. So it's now starting at such an age that people are looking for those brands because they're more conscious about what they're putting on the skin. They're more conscious about where that product's come from. How was it made? Is it vegan friendly? Is it in sustainable packaging? All these things are huge brand focuses, especially like our product development team. It's all we talk about. Yes, we want that product to be right, but we also want it to be packaged right. We want it to have the right ingredients. We want it to be sourced in the UK, and all these things that are becoming really important to the consumers, brands are listening to and working with.
So is that kind of the top feedback that you've had? What have you kind of improved over the past few years? So, you mentioned, things being vegan and packaging being recyclable, etc. What else is there?
It is. It's things like that. It's like sustainability. It's becoming such a big part of all our product development, because the thing that you forget about sustainability is it's not just about the material that it's made from. It's also about where it's made. People forget about transport and getting that product from A to B. If that product is made and produced overseas, you've got all the fuel and all that resource to bring it over here. If we can make it in the UK, we lose all that instantly. It's more sustainable. Yeah. And also we're bringing business to the UK, and that's what we should be doing. We should be supporting British businesses. So like our new Sarah Lash launch for the new LVL system, made and produced in the UK. We've got a launch that's coming up next week, which is really exciting. You know, it's all UK sourced. So this is the thing that we're really focusing on. We've got a product coming up that's going from like a plastic packaging to a paper packaging that's already recycled and can continue to be recycled. It's really at the forefront of a lot of product development nowadays. It really is.
Amazing. And it's no small feat managing to produce something in the UK. So that's actually huge and just shows how much you kind of listen to what consumers need from you.
And the other thing with a brand that we see time and time and time again is trusted ingredients. Sometimes we feel that, you know, other products are coming onto the market and we think, oh, you know, we want that and we need that. We're developing it. And our brand family will say, you know, we want you to bring this out. We want you to bring that out. And we're working on it in the background. But what we're doing is we're looking at ingredients and making sure that those ingredients are regulated. We supply our products worldwide now. So we've got to jump through regulations, both in the UK, the EU and America and further afield. And what you know with a reputable brand is that their ingredients are regulated ingredients and they are safe. There's so many things in this industry that actually aren't as safe as they should be. I had a frightening story when I worked in the laser industry. There's a company called Carlton that have been around for a really long time. They used to do all the college equipment for facial electrical machines. And what they did is they bought a machine from China. And they stripped it down. They got the tech team to strip it down. And it was a crystal machine. So it was like microdermabrasion. And this machine, I kid you not, was an industrial sandblaster. And it had been packaged up as a facial machine. I mean, if there's anything telling you that you need to use a reputable brand, that story is telling you, isn't it?
And I think sometimes people blindly trust whatever they're sold. I think you kind of think, oh, you know, it must have passed some sort of test, but the regulations can be so vague that you get away with an industrial sandblaster as a microdermabrasion machine. Wow.
That must be 5 or 6 years ago, and people are more savvy about it now, even than they were at that time. But yeah, you need a reputable brand. You need someone protecting you and your clients because they know what's happening. You know, we have policies, we have procedures, we do our research, we have professionals, we speak to trichologists for hair, and we speak to every professional in the industry we'll speak to when we're developing a product. It's not just pulled out of nowhere. And they're tried and they're tested for hours and hours and hours. So we might not always be first to market, but we're normally the best. And it's because the research has been done.
Do you have quite a strong feedback loop between you and the professionals that use the products?
We speak to them all the time. We have dedicated teams that we speak to. We've got kind of a really close-knit part that we speak to. We've got our team of trainers that are out there on the ground, and they're so valuable in this kind of thing. So we're always listening to our community of stylists and artists, always.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's another huge part of, you know, being part of a bigger brand, being able to kind of have that input in the wider picture.
Absolutely.
We normally like to finish the podcast with a quick fire round. Let me fire away. What is a beauty product that you can't live without?
My go-to is HD Brows Brow Glue, because even though I have HD brows, I've got dreadful brows. And that just picks them up and makes them look better.
Amazing. Must try that, actually. I've got very thin brows. What is a beauty trend that you're loving right now?
We're seeing a lot of wellness out there in the industry, and people are much more focused on wellness. So that's what I'm loving. Time is so precious. So make that treatment time count.
Nice. And again, kind of links to, you know, consumers looking at the wider picture. Really interesting. What is a beauty trend that you're not loving so much?
DIY treatments. It hit in lockdown. People started doing it themselves, and now they're paying the prices. We're seeing increased allergies. We're seeing damage. Stop doing DIY treatments. Go and see a professional.
Yeah, there was some dark times. A DIY haircut you can kind of get away with, but when you're putting chemicals on your face, do you have a favorite podcast, book, or creator for business inspiration?
My go-to at the moment is Working Hard, Hardly Working with Grace Beverley. It's really easy to listen to and loads of different guests and quite inspirational stuff on there. So, yeah.
If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't try and be what everyone else thinks that you should be or what you think everyone thinks you should be. Just be yourself.
Love that. And what is one piece of advice you'd give to our listeners trying to grow their businesses?
Get on board with a brand. Go back to education. Learn.
What a lovely sentiment to finish on. This has been so lovely, Rose, and I think so interesting for our listeners that want to get into education, just want to know how to better themselves in their business. So thank you so much for sharing. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Katrina.
Where can our listeners find you if they are interested in training with Nouveau or HD Brows?
So the best place to go is nouveaubeauty.com. This is our newest website. It's got, it's like a house of professional beauty. You've got all sorts of different brands on there, OPI, Sienna X, Dermatude, as well as HD Brows and Nouveau Lashes, of course. We have a lot of free education on there as well. So it's not just the education that, you need to get yourself started. We've got lots of different product education and masterclasses. So yeah, check out nouveaubeauty.com and we've got things coming all the time. So keep in touch and hopefully you'll enjoy learning with us.
Cool. Well, make sure to pop the links to that in the show notes.
Thanks.
Have a lovely day. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favourite podcast app. If you like the episode, why not leave a review or share it with a beauty industry friend? And if you're curious about Solo, you can download it for free on the App Store or Google Play and take advantage of our free trial.